Hey, how's your week going so far? My name is Alicia.
I'm Nicole.
Why don't we take a little time away from the hustle and bustle of adulting and let's indulge our curiosities just for a bit and talk about killers, psychos, and the unexplained.
Today we are venturing to Indiana to talk about Orville Lynn Majors and Herbert Baumeister.
Welcome to Indiana, home to Herbert Richard Baumeister, where forensic investigators have recovered nearly 10,000 portions of human remains. You heard me right. 10,000.
Wait, what?
10,000 portions of human remains.
Oh God.
Yeah, let's get into it. Herbert Baumeister was born in Indianapolis on April 7th, 1947. He was the eldest of four children to Dr. Herbert Eugene Baumeister, an anesthesiologist, and Elizabeth Baumeister. Herb had a relatively normal childhood. However, during adolescence, he started exhibiting antisocial behaviors and developed urophilia and would ponder what it would be like to taste human urine.
Oh,
I guess he would also enjoy playing with the occasional dead animal, which obviously concerned his father, who had him psychologically evaluated, and he was diagnosed with paranoia or paranoid schizophrenia and antisocial personality behavior. Herb attended a couple semesters of college before he ended up just dropping out and would jump through a series of jobs that he was unable to maintain due to his quote bizarre behavior. I suppose it was pretty off putting to his employers. Okay, so yeah, weird dude, creeped people out, and apparently enjoyed drinking people's urine. Moving forward. Although officially unsolved, Herb is the prime suspect of the I-70 Strangler series of murders. These victims were from popular gay bars and similar establishments within a 4 block radius in Indianapolis. These poor souls were later found strangled to death, naked, and dumped in streams and ditches in the rural countryside. Herb is thought to be responsible since the murders stopped in 1991 after he had purchased Fox Hollow Farm, which would be used as a burial site for the rest of the victims. So since the bodies were no longer being dumped in the same spot, they were just now poof, gone. They could no longer be linked to the I-70 killer because now circumstances have changed, right? But since Herb is probably the murderer, we'll talk about those 11 victims. I won't get into too much detail because, again, there's a lot to go over. On June 16th, 1980, the body of a 15-year-old male prostitute, Michael Sean Petrie, was discovered. He went missing on June 7th, but was observed by witnesses in different parts of the city. He was riding in a stranger's car. And then on July 21st, 1982, the topless corpse of 22-year-old Maurice Allen Taylor was found. I guess Maurice was just a wanderer and he would offer sexual services around these gay bars. October 3rd, 1982, 14-year-old Delvoyd Lee Barker's body was found near a river in Hamilton County. Now, the witness had stated that Delvoyd was last seen on the evening of October 2nd in downtown Indianapolis, climbing into a blue van that was driven by a young white man with a bushy mustache. On May 28th, 1983, 22-year-old Michael Andrew Riley disappeared after visiting the Rogue Theater, an Indianapolis nightclub. He was last seen with an unidentified man with whom he later left with. In February 1998, an Indianapolis resident had contacted police. So this is a few years later, 5 years later. He contacted police and said that Herbert was the last man that he was seen with Riley. So he said, I seen her with Riley the night that he disappeared 5 years ago. Riley's nude body was later found in a ditch in Hannock County, south of Greenfield, on June 5th. So he was missing for like 5 years. No, 83, and this was 98. That's 15 years. He was missing a long time. Poor dude. Then on May 7th, 1985, 17-year-old Eric Allen Rodger vanished, and his body was found a few days later in a stream in rural Preble County, Ohio, east of Lewisburg. On August 15th, 1986, the body of 29-year-old Michael Allen Glenn was found in a ditch near Eaton, Ohio. He lived separately from his parents in a trailer park located on the outskirts of Indianapolis, and he would work as a handyman. So the exact date that he went missing is unknown. On October 15th, 1987, at around 10 p.m., 21-year-old James Boyd Robbins Jr. went missing shortly after leaving his mother's home in Indianapolis and walking to the southern part of the city. 2 days later, on October 17th, his body was found in a ditch in rural Shelby County, south of Gwenville. On August 12th, 1989, the body of 26-year-old Stephen Lynn Elliott was found in Preble County, Ohio. He had been strangled. Stephen's father told police that when his son came out as gay in 1979, he then had left the family household and became involved in prostitution and developed an alcohol addiction. On August 14th, 1990, 32-year-old Clay Russell Boatman, an LPN, disappeared after leaving his Richmond, Indiana apartment to visit Our Place, which is a local gay bar. On September 6th, 1990, 18-year-old Thomas Ray Clevenger Jr. vanished. His body was found in an abandoned railroad track near Greenville, Ohio. He engaged in prostitution near these bars to earn money. On August 6, 1991, the body of 42-year-old Otto Gary Becker was found in a ditch next to a gravel road in rural Henry County, Indiana. Then, in May 1988, Herb had purchased Fox Hollow Farm, which is an 18-acre property built. It was built in 1978 off of 156th Street and the Monon Trail in Westfield, Indiana. So during that, in May of 1988, he purchased this big farm, all this land. So all these other murders that I just talked about, they were no longer being linked to the other serial murder that they thought the I-70 strangler, or that they had called the I-70 strangler.
They just thought he died or
just stopped,
moved on, or
yeah, because now the bodies are no longer being found the same way. So I guess he decided to stop.
okay.
But, so side note, I guess in 1994, Herb's son was outside playing in the backyard, and he had found a complete, partially buried human skeleton. So of course he told his dad, he's like, "Hey, why is this buried in the backyard?" Herb explained to his family that it had been one of his father's dissecting skeletons. Remember, his dad was an anesthesiologist, but we have dissecting skeletons. Allegedly, he had stored it in their garage for some time, but then just decided, I'm just going to pull it out and bury it in the backyard now, in the garden, to get rid of it, right? Anyhow, so by the 1990s, investigators with the Marin County Sheriff's Department and the Indianapolis Police Department began investigating the disappearance of this abundance of gay men in the Indianapolis area. In 1994, they were contacted by a man named Tony Harris, who claimed that a gay bar patron calling himself, quote, Brian Smart, had likely killed Harris, and that this Brian Smart had an encounter with Tony as well, where he had tried to erotically asphyxiate him with a pool hose. Yeah. So as the investigators are, investigating, they're doing their thing. They figured out that Brian Smart was actually Herb Baumeister. So when investigators informed him that he was the suspect in these disappearances, and they were like, "We need to come search your house. We need to search your farm," both Herb and his wife were like, "No," they just completely refused to search. So that's bizarre. There's no way. But after a little bit of time, by June of 1996, his wife, Julie, ended up being quite concerned about, Herb's erotic behavior. I guess he was just doing all these things, just freaking her out. So she ended up filing for divorce, and she did end up consenting to the search. The search of the estate was conducted while Herb was on vacation somewhere. So he wasn't home. And Julie's like, "Yeah, come look." And they did. On June 20th.
So the wife
Yeah.
Was like, "Okay, fine. I give up. Come look."
Well, because they were married. So at first when they came to investigate, they're like, "No way. There's nothing going on here. Why do you need to search my house? Why do you need to search my property?" But
Yeah.
then after time is passing, Julie's noticing that Herbert's like doing weird things. He's acting very erratic.
Okay.
And
So she
it
gives
concerned her.
permission.
Yeah, it concerned her. So then she ended up filing for divorce. Like, I don't know what this man's doing, but I don't want nothing to do with it. And then when he went out on vacation somewhere, she's like, "Yeah, hey, come on over. Come. You can go ahead and do that investigation now."
Ooh.
And and they did, and they did. And oh boy, did they ever! On June 24th, 1996, investigators recovered human bone fragments belonging to at least 11 people buried in the woods at Fox Hollow Farm. So this is in addition to all, because these aren't even the bodies from the I-70 strangler. These are in addition. So they found fragments belonging to at least 11 people buried in the woods at Fox Hollow Farm. And then on December 4th, they found another bone and identified 20 additional locations where other bodies may have been buried. Only 10 victims who killing were directly linked to her and have been identified since the initial discovery. 3 additional remains are still unidentified, although they all are believed to be male and all are believed to be victims of homicide. The Hamilton County Coroner's Office has appealed to the public requesting like anyone with missing family members from the mid 1980s to mid 1990s in the Indianapolis area complete a DNA test in effort to help identify these victims' remains. As of January 24th, forensic experts continue working in an effort to identify nearly 10,000 portions of human remains recovered from an unknown number of victims at Fox Hollow Farm. So that's a lot. Yeah.
How do you have so much time?
10,000,
Are you
that's a
killing
lot.
someone every day?
Something like that's a lot of time. But I mean, he's had years. This is over 20. I mean, well, he didn't purchase. No, this is only over 13 years because he had purchased his home in 88 and they're still to this day.
Listen, there wasn't even time to kill 10,000 people unless you killed multiple people a day.
Well, they're 10,000 portions of human
Oh,
remains. So they're pieces of multiple bodies.
okay.
They've only identified, a small portion of those. Yeah. So, with a warrant out for his arrest, Herbert decided to flee to Ontario, where he went to Pinery Provincial Park, ate himself a peanut butter sandwich, shot himself in the head, committing suicide before he could be taken into custody. There was apparently a 3-page suicide note where he was like apologizing for messing up the park, said he felt bad about his failed marriage. However, he never talked about the crimes or confessed to the crimes or even spoke about anything crime related, murder related, none of that. But yeah, so putting this awful case to an end.
Wow. All right.
He was busy. Oh
That's
my
like an
god.
understatement.
Like nonstop.
Yeah. Well, Orville Lynn Majors was born in Linton, Indiana in 1961. Majors was a licensed practical nurse and a serial killer. He took care of his elderly grandmother as a teen, which is how he ended up in nursing. He graduated in 1989 from college. He mostly worked at Vermilion County Hospital in Clinton. Majors was one of the most popular nurses and received many glowing evaluations, especially among his elderly patients. However, suspicion suspicion began when Majors returned to the hospital from Tennessee. So like he left and went to Tennessee and worked there for a little bit for a short time, like less than 2 years, and then he came back and when he came back he went that right back to the same hospital. And when that happened, the death toll jumped significantly. 26 patients annually died in the ICU before Majors came back, and 100 annually after he came back.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's like,
That's huge.
yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
4 times as many people. Mind you, it's a smaller hospital with only 56 beds and 4 of them are in intensive care. That means almost 1 out of every 3 died that year.
Yes.
The circumstances around the deaths, even though they were elderly, was another reason for suspicion. Some died after erratic heartbeats after respiratory arrest, which apparently is the reverse of the normal pattern. Others died of conditions they didn't enter the hospital with or took a sharp downturn, even though they were otherwise healthy. So they're just like all of a sudden having new conditions, which is not even what they came to the hospital for, or they didn't have them previously. Patients started coding at an alarming rate. Major's patients noticed a spike in deaths, and when he was working and started to joke about it, a supervisor, Dawn Sterk, became concerned enough she started an investigation.
Way to go, Dawn.
Dawn discovered 130 deaths out of 147 deaths occurred when Majors was working between 1993 and 1995.
Oh, wow.
Correct.
Every single shift.
Right. She alerted hospital officials who called the state and the police. Majors was suspended pending an investigation. Indiana State Nursing Board suspended his license for 5 years when they determined he had exceeded his authority by giving emergency meds and working in ICU without a doctor. The hospital fired him, of course. The police then discovered when Majors was on duty, there was an average of 1 death every 23 hours.
Mm-hmm.
When he was off duty, it was 1 every 23 days. When Majors was on duty, a patient was 42 times more likely to die. He denied any wrongdoing. He got a job running a pet store in Linton while they were investigating. And Majors hired a lawyer and went on some talk shows claiming his innocence. Girl, he went across the country saying how they were doing him wrong. He was, all my patients gave me glowing reviews. It wasn't me.
An LPN
Mm-hmm.
administering medications without a doctor's order,
Mm-hmm.
causing arrhythmias, causing cardiac and respiratory arrests.
Mm-hmm.
Every single shift, this would have to occur.
Correct.
Crazy.
So they still couldn't prove how he had been killing them. So several loved ones remembered Majors giving injections minutes before their loved ones would pass away. They noticed patients' heart patterns widening, and they called in an expert who said it can only happen one of 3 ways: potassium overdose, sudden heart attack, or a large clot in the lung.
That potassium.
Yeah, I mean, people have a sudden heart attack, but not usually while they're sitting in the hospital. So on September of 95, they exhumed 15 patients who had been witnessed to receive a shot from Majors and had had a heart widening right before death. None of them had lung clots or heart attacks. A former roommate had recalled seeing vials of potassium chloride and epinephrine, I can't say it.
Epinephrine, yep.
Thank you. Laying around their apartment. And police were able to get a search warrant, and numerous vials were traced back to the hospital. So not only is he giving them out, he's like taking them home with him. Why would you not?
Well, he probably had them in his pocket after he would administer these medications and put the empty things in his pocket.
Jesus. Majors was arrested in December of 97 and charged with 7 murders. They believe he actually killed 100 to 130 people in total. They chose to focus on 7 as to not overwhelm the jury. They had 79 witnesses that were called in 99 during the case. Some witnesses testified he hated elderly people and thought they should be gassed. Majors was convicted October 17th for 6 murders. The jury was deadlocked on the 7th one. And he was sentenced to 6 consecutive terms of 60 years. maximum possible penalty under Indiana law. The judge described the act as diabolical acts. The judge also said, a parcel of evil at its most wicked. The maximum sentence is the minimum sentence. Like, this judge was so disgusted with
As I'm
this
sure everyone
case.
was. Ugh.
I can't, like, I wouldn't want to be the judge or the jury or the lawyers or. And the guy the whole time had been going on, I told you, on talk shows saying how innocent he was. The hospital was later sued by 80 families and eventually was bought out. They couldn't withstand the blowback.
Mm-mm.
Majors served his sentence until September 24th, 2017, when he died of heart failure. Can you, like,
Wow.
not even sure how many people he killed, right? Because we're talking, like, elderly people that could, you know, their chance of dying is way higher, right? And the chance of having something wrong way higher. But I was like, 100 and some people in a 2-year time period.
Yeah. Like I said, every single shift. Well, let us finish this off with a little of the unexplained. Indiana's cryptid creature is the Beast of Boonville. The first sightings go back to 1936 when a farmer said a large, hairy animal tore his dog to shreds. Reported as being a large, hairy, towering monster, it was larger than a bear. They also thought maybe it was like some kind of super ape. It had this blood curdling shriek and it would yell. As the police were searching, one of their dogs was mauled. They put out ads. They had full ads in newspapers, like for quite some time. Like, have you seen the Beast of Boonville? You know, we need to catch
Wow.
the beast. Yeah, full
Like
ad.
they were serious about finding this beast.
Yes. They never did find this giant ape-like creature. I guess a couple guys claimed it was some giant sloth that they had brought back from like Mexico. But again, how do we know? Like they never really found it. No one has, I guess, nobody knows. So tell us, have you heard of this? Have you heard of this Beast of Boonville? We're interested.
Oh, for sure. Well, we would like to thank you for joining us in our discoveries of Indiana this week. Please join us next week while we travel to Iowa. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss our adventures next week into killers, psychos, and the unexplained.
Bye bye.
Bye!